This episode is going to be so impactful for you. Are you tired of struggling to attract and retain your target audience through traditional marketing methods? I mean, let's be honest, it can feel very overwhelming. And do you want to know the secret to creating a loyal following that engages with your content? I want you to think about and consider, and also look no further than private audio feeds. In this episode, it is part 3 of our 4-part series with Kim, and we're exploring the world of private audio feeds and their importance in marketing. Kim joins me to discuss the various types of marketing that you can do with private feeds, including using them as a lead magnet to attract potential clients. We also dive into the topic of audio retention rates and whether audio has a higher retention rate compared to other forms of content. Kim provides insight into how to structure a pop-up podcast and elevate your entire client experience through private feeds. In addition, we explore the different ways that you can repurpose your private feeds and leverage them to maximize your marketing efforts. If you're enjoying this series and if you're enjoying this podcast overall, would you do me a favor and leave a 5-star rating and a review of the show? I would be so grateful to hear how these conversations and these episodes are impacting you, your podcasting journey, your podcast growth, marketing, monetization efforts, and overall what you're learning from the show. Hearing from you makes my day. It's a love language for me, and I just want to know how much you're enjoying this podcast and if there's anything that we can change. So let's meet Kim before we dive in. Kim's business journey started as a call for something more. Her career in population health allowed her to look at things with a holistic lens, identifying big picture initiatives and creating messaging for target populations from concept to implementation. She realized there was only so much change that she could make from her cubicle. May and James Co. began with the intention of sharing the creativity of audio marketing with others. And she believes that the power of collaborating and networking through storytelling is key to success. Are you ready to learn what you need to know and discover the power of private audio feeds and how they can transform your marketing efforts? Let's get into this conversation with Kim. Kim, welcome back to As It Relates to Podcasting. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
We are diving into the marketing piece now of the private podcasting world. And I'm really stoked to dive into this conversation because we talked in our last 2 episodes. The first episode, we talked about more of the foundational pieces and like why you would do it and how it helps your business and also helps you as a creator. And then the second episode, we talked into the specific ways in which you can use private podcasts or private audio feeds to support all of your different creative pursuits, if you will. I'll call it that. And in this episode, we're going to cover how to market, how to use it for marketing, and also how to use it for repurposing. So I'd say right off the bat, let's dive into the marketing piece first. So why and how is this type of audio so critical when it comes to marketing?
Well, I think it just allows us to be able to celebrate, promote, market our offers in a unique way because we know we need to stand out. We need to be a little different than everybody else out there. And how do we do that? And I think marketing through private feeds is a unique way that can really set you apart from the pack. So I can't wait to get into marketing through private feeds because there's so many cool ways. So I'm just going to
start with the first one.
Yes. Okay. So under marketing, really think about how you can use pop-up podcasts as a way to kind of drive excitement. So private podcasts, again, look, feel, and function the same as public podcasts, but you have control, creative control over how it comes off and how it looks and how much time is available to listen to it. So It's only available for a limited amount of time. So you get to drive excitement around what your offer is. You get to choose when it's available and when it disappears. And maybe it goes on, it's stripped out on a specific date and then you drive excitement and to push people into an open cart for so long. But it really accelerates the buying cycle and creates excitement around that buying cycle. So moving someone through the customer journey, but in a unique way as a pop-up podcast, I think is super, super cool. So yeah. And it's just different, it's different than a traditional opt-in or a traditional, like email funnel. It's just unique because people get to listen and learn from you and, kind of really get a feel and a vibe for who you are again. And I can't stress how important that is. I think it's like so important to have your listener, your potential new client, get a feel for who you are as a human before they, tap into your world of what you are offering them. So yeah, so it creates a sense of urgency because the content won't last forever. It keeps the audience a little bit more focused. I know for me, if I know I only have so much time in my day for a certain project, I'm really focused on it. So it
Right.
kind of drives that, fear of missing out because you have it only for a certain amount of time available. So, and then in that, conversely, you hope that it increases conversions, right? Because
Of
it
course.
is only allowed or open for so many days or however you have it done. So you want to encourage your followers to join and get excited about it and all of those good things. So it's really a supplement of your marketing campaign for a specific project. So pop-up podcasts are amazing. I think they're super cool. Another unique way of using private feeds in your business is a lead magnet. So I love
Mm.
thinking about it as a lead magnet because, again, it sets you apart from a traditional, get my checklist and download this and blah, blah, blah. And the other cool thing about it is that you can test out different private like mini feeds and see which ones really stand out. And then once you have so I played with about 3 different ones, and I played with different titles. And then when I saw the engagement on one versus the other, I left the other one up as an evergreen funnel, as an evergreen lead magnet to be able to tie into all my offers and who I am and how you can work with me. So
Oh,
that's
that's
such a cool
cool.
and unique way to be able to use it. So think about it the same as how you would lead people through a customer journey, but in an audio form. So that's super cool and so, so,
Oh.
so fun. Yeah.
So, if you were to use something like this, then you would take this type of podcast. And sorry, are you using it in the same way as you would email marketing, or are you using it like
Yeah.
in tandem with it?
In tandem. So like
Okay.
my private feed as a lead magnet, I have it up on my, let's say, for example, I have it on my Instagram bio. Like, if you click and then you see all
Yep.
the different things, you can join my email list to be able to get the private feed. And now I've got you on there as an email capture. And then you follow the sequence through my nurturing piece as you would everything else.
Okay.
But it gives you time to kind of listen to who I am and then opt in or out, right? Like, yeah, I don't want to listen to
Got
any
it.
more of her, or I want to binge this a little bit more, or yeah, I want to learn about how I can actually, maybe you want to like work with me in a 90-minute intensive just to see how we can do like a private feed in your world because you've listened
Totally.
to my private podcast and you want to learn more. I've captured your attention. And yeah, so it's just
Mm.
a different, unique way of being able to think about lead magnets in your world and how you can use them. And again, have fun with them, right? Like, play with them. And I'll go into a little bit more of how I kind of structure them and what they look like later. But yeah, lead magnets are super, super cool. But you can
I have
also
one more
use them.
question about that. I'm
Yes,
sorry. I have one
absolutely.
more question.
Yeah.
So, when you think about the audio side versus the video side of this, do you think that you have more retention with the audio only side, or is this something that you could potentially consider putting in for video as well? Like, I know sometimes for myself, if I
Mhm.
receive something with video, I'm like, oh my God, I have to sit down and watch it. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
versus like audio, I'm like, okay, I can take this with me to go, even though you can take the video with you technically to go as well. It just has a different feeling. So would you
Yeah.
recommend like keeping it audio only, keeping it
I
audio
would play
specific?
with audio only for sure. I would
Okay.
absolutely play with audio only and just test the waters out and see. But as I say that, how cool would it be to record your private feed with the video component and putting that up on your website or putting it up on
Mm,
your YouTube channel, or it's
right.
just another capture piece to it. But the beauty of that is that you can pull just the audio only and throw it out as the lead magnet that way as well. So I think you
Totally.
can really play with it in your marketing world in different ways and really see what the
Cool.
uptake is. Yeah, because it is really cool to be able to have that visual of who you are behind the microphone as well, right? So yeah, I would totally do both.
That's cool. Okay, that's really cool. And then from there, like, okay, if you were to do, I'm just jumping back to
Yeah.
the first one, the pop-up
Hmm.
podcasts. What would be, and you don't have to give us like what yours is, but like, or like in general, like what would be a good example of like the structure of that? So are you doing, a few episodes, 5 or 6 episodes, and maybe like a topic example, just so that it's really tangible for our listener?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what my private feed is. It's probably one of them was how to set up your private podcast up for success and what that looks like.
Hmm.
And so I could create it as a how to create a private feed. I'm just trying to think of different titles that would drive excitement as to what people are like
Totally.
working for and doing.
But
But
so it's mostly that you would bring people onto this feed and you would take them through like a journey of like your essentially if
absolutely.
you broke it down in like 5 steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, about how to set up your feed. Like that could be a whole pop-up private podcast.
Absolutely. So
Oh.
you just have to really kind of figure out like what are you generating traffic and interest towards? Like, is it your high
Mm,
ticket offer? Is it your
right.
new membership? Maybe you're only opening it up for so many weeks, just like you would a traditional membership. I see people all the time going live or talking about it on their stories, generating excitement and buzz. But you can do that through a private feed and only have it open for as long as that open cart's open and
Right.
then close it and then have them through that nurture sequence. Right?
I love this so much because for me, I find it's way easier for me to explain something through audio and like on a podcast versus a sales page. So even like versus a sales
Yes.
page. So even if I had a sales page, including it doesn't necessarily have to be like a private feed but it could, but like including that audio piece on the page that's like, hey, do you not want to read this entire sales page? Let me tell you what it is in 2 minutes.
Yeah. People
That
use
feels
private
way more
feeds in their
tangible.
newsletters, and that's probably one of the examples that's coming up, right? As
That's
an
cool.
audio option, right? So
That's really
you're just
cool.
creating different access points for people to enter your world in different
Right.
ways, right? And audio, like again, I can't stress the importance of audio. Really creates that who we are, that deeper connection of who we are, so that people can enter our world and hear our excitement about our new membership, about our high ticket offer, how you can join our coaching program, like any of those things, right? So if you're excited, they're going to be excited. If you're not,
Totally.
maybe stick to a checklist.
Well, this is really cool. Oh, yeah, I know, right?
I don't know.
But this is really cool though, because you can totally elevate, your entire user's experience. Like you can
Hmm.
take a private podcast, combine it with your newsletter, have that as your freebie where
Yes.
people come in. And you're hitting people in 2 different ways because the way people read things and the way people hear things or watch things
Hmm.
is completely different. So by giving people the option to explore what you're like on all of those different ways, that's
Hmm.
really cool.
Yeah. So I mean,
This is so
having
cool.
them opt in just allows you to get them on your
Yeah.
email list. It's capturing that email,
Yeah.
and that's a first part of the process, right? I mean, we obviously want to build our email list, and
Mhm.
private feeds really offer that opportunity to increase that rate a little quicker than a traditional just email or post on social media
Very
about your
cool.
new program. I mean, this can really drive excitement and urgency around what your new offer is and who you are.
I love that. And,
Yeah.
on the flip side of that, I guess you could also take like something like a master class that you've recorded in the
Hmm.
past, and you can have that as your audio. You don't necessarily have to have the video, but although maybe you would want to for a master class. But if you're teaching something and you can break it out into 4 parts, like I have a master class, for example, how to start and launch a podcast in 3 simple steps. And the first piece is the foundational piece, the second piece is the recording piece, and the
Yes.
third or the equipment piece, and the third piece is the content, right? And I'm happy to share that with anyone here because you can access it on my newsletter. Me
Yes.
sharing what those headlines are is not sharing what the content is inside, but you could totally take that, break that down in 3 different ways, and have like, here's your first part, here's your second part, here's your third part, and kind of combine it
Yes.
together.
Yes, I joined someone's that was all about LinkedIn because I try to join as many as possible to hear how
Oh,
people are using it in different
yeah.
industries. And it was all about, she broke hers up into like mini micro episodes. It was all about like the power and the why of LinkedIn is now and why you should be on it. And then all the different ways that you can use it. And then her conclusion, her wrap up, and I'll talk about that too. And I mean, it's okay to duplicate how it was worked, but you're wrapping it up and you're driving traffic back to your website for
Right.
to work with you more and in more
Right.
in how many ways they can work with you. So yeah, it's pretty cool how you can use it in different ways. But yeah.
This is so cool. I hope our listener right now is just soaking up all of this knowledge, because it's really a game changer way to like look at how you're creating in the online space, and how do
Hmm.
you differentiate yourself from everybody else when it feels like everyone is doing the same thing, quote unquote. How do you make your stuff stand out? How do you make
Yes.
sure that people know that you're different, right? Very cool. Okay, I know another one there was a couple more that you wanted to touch on in this marketing side as well.
Yeah. So there's launch content, challenge content, but also order bumps. So what a great way. And again, it's like, checking off the box to work with you or to get that elevated experience. So audio is a great audio order bump because it's also perceived as greater value. Essentially customers perceive audio as different because they're confident that they're able to complete it. So it's that perceived value of offering more, right? So yeah, it's a great way to create excitement and buzz around, hey, this is like, content on the go. It's in your pocket, it's in your back pocket, it's a little extra, and it can be just so powerful when you consider, like, I've seen people use it as, you have your coach in your pocket for 5 days on deep diving into this this problem that you're trying to solve. And how amazing is that? So really just adding that excitement again, so that people will, do that extra order bump. And, it's kind of like in Thrivecart where you can be like, oh, or work with me for like this, this, you can work with me in a 90-minute strategy session outside of this like $10 offer. Instead of doing that, it can be the order bump is you have me as your personal audio coach for 3 days because of this private feed that I'm giving you. Super cool.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, super
cool. Really cool. This is really cool. Okay, and the other couple of ways before we head into the repurposing side of all of this.
Yeah, so just like through webinars, launch content and challenge content, like I said, it's just really just kind of thinking a little bit differently and shifting our train of thought around how we can create that traditional challenge content into an audio form to have completion rates and to drive excitement.
Amazing. That's really, really cool. And then on the repurposing side of this, so how do you take all of this amazing audio that you've created? Now what? Like, now what do you do with all of this audio?
Really learning how to repurpose that premium content with private podcasts to make evergreen content new again and adding value to your audience. So you can spend hours strategizing, creating, and refining brand new content, or you can simply and quickly repurpose the content that you have in a private feed and breathe new life into it. So an amazing example of this is that creative artistic client that I had come into my world. And I love her so much. She's so amazing. And, we sat down and we were like, okay, like, how can we make this make sense in your world? And we started talking about all of the amazing blog posts that she already had created from all of her experience through her years of being in business, and broke them into different series. And then, you have to like change them up a little bit because it's in written content.
Sure.
But she's like, I already have spent like hours developing all this content. So, how do we make it new again in an audio form? So just kind of repurposing and thinking a little bit differently, right? About how you can create what you already have. Because I can guarantee most of us have some amazing content already developed in some way, shape, or form. We just have to figure out how we can breathe new life into it through audio. So super, super cool in a way to create evergreen content new, again, by repurposing it through audio. New content generally ranks higher, right? So than older content. But updating your website with audio format versions of your content can do that. Right? So just thinking a little bit differently that way. And then repurposing content, let your audience listen, just the same, like I said, transforming old content into private podcasts to make it more accessible. And we said that over and over, but I can't keep stressing that enough. And, your content to provide added value for your current users. So it's just how you can just think a little bit differently than traditional. So you can create private podcasts for digital courses and products. Like we said, students can listen and implement the lessons. It makes it easier for students to consume, your clients to consume. You're creating opportunities for your clients, like you said before, too, to binge listen and then to go back and re-listen to the sections again that maybe they just need to, check out a little bit more in detail. So some examples of repurposing is your, creating an audio library, creating newsletters or your newsletters that you currently have, creating a link that is your audio form. Maybe you already have an Instagram live series, pull that content and make it a private feed. Just from that Instagram live series. We talked about blogs. You can also do it through your YouTube video content. So, right? I mean, most of the YouTube video content has a purpose.
Mm.
So, has
You would hope.
series, you have buckets in there, pull from there and create some audio private feeds from those sections. The ones that you've had, engagement, people are making comments. Those are the ones that you want to dive deeper into. So what are people interested in? Because at the end of the day, whatever you create, whether it's repurposing content or creating new private feeds to drive traffic and excitement, you want to make sure that it's bringing value and adding to someone else's world. If it's not, they're not going to listen.
Right. It's true.
That's it.
It's so true. Oh man, this was so valuable. I just thinking about all the ways in which I could use this in my own business and all the content that I already have that exists. And I'm so excited. I'm really
Awesome.
excited.
So good.
Thank you so much, Kim. Is there anything else that you would add on this topic before we move on to our next episode?
No, I don't think so. I just think, just really be creative and have fun. And I can't stress that enough. If you're having fun, your clients will have fun. Your listeners will want to work with you. And yeah, that's why we do what we do.
That's amazing. I love it. And just a really quick reminder for our listener right now, if you want to just binge the last episode real quick, you can find all of it on Patreon. You get full access to everything before it goes live on there. So if you want to just, take everything that Kim's already said and get a framework for how to do that, you're going to want to listen to the next episode. So thank you so much, Kim.
Thank you.
See you on the next one. Thank you so much for listening in to this episode with Kim. If you like what you heard, please be sure to leave a rating and review of the show and connect with us on social media so that you can share what you learned and a big takeaway maybe from this conversation. Kim is such a wealth of knowledge when it comes to the audio space, and I know that you learned so much from her because I learned so much from her every single time we sit down and chat. If you'd like to connect with her, with myself, or grab any of the resources that we mentioned in this episode, or any of the resources that we both offer, you can check the notes in the show description. Thanks again for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe, share with a friend that you know needs to hear this episode, and I will see you on the next one.